Thank you, Dean Gamelch, Father Prevet, Associate Deans McPherson and Hodges, distinguished faculty behind me, families, friends, and most importantly, class of 2012. It is my let's give a hand for them. Class of 2012. I am truly honored and privileged to be here today, and I recall the words of my husband, who rests in the heaven of God today, telling me very few people would ever read my dissertation after it was written. And of course, it was dedicated to Carl Brown, who would forever be first in my life, and also received his baccalaureate degree here at this university. And so I was really honored that you would actually read my 332-page dissertation with a 35-page, one line-by-line bibliography. And it was, I think, an example of what USF has done for me and for everyone in this room, whether you're a family, a friend, or one of our class of 2012. So graduates, nearly a quarter century ago, I was in your shoes, preparing to cross the stage to look in Father Schiavo's eyes, very knowing eyes, very piercing eyes, and receive my doctorate in organization and leadership, ruminating, much like your speaker from your class, about how I could use the rest of my life to change those of my students for the better. Like many of you, while I was a student, I worked full-time. Because I had a data set of 25,000 students, I spent longer than a year writing my dissertation, and I would get up every day and write from 5 to 7 in the morning that last year and a half, so it took me a little longer than some of my colleagues before I went to work, and then the nights and weekends that I know all of you who are graduating today share with me. Before finishing that last read, making sure there were no mistakes, and I found 30 mistakes after I wrote the dissertation and was ready to defend. So I could come with an appreciation here of how hard each of you has worked to get to this day of commencement and celebrate with a view to your future. And really, it is your future that will create the future of thousands and thousands and thousands of people in this country. My graduate studies at USF had a tremendous impact on me. I knew my degree would open doors, but never imagined I would stand before you as an Undersecretary of Education. And I admit that growing up, I knew I was a natural-born organizer. I told Father Prevet I had 3 brothers and a sister. They were all younger. I started taking care of people from the time I was born. But that's why, on reflection, I now appreciate to an even greater depth what 3 professors at USF did for me. These were people who made an enormous difference in my life and helped me prepare for the challenges that lay ahead, many of which I could have never imagined. Father Patrick Duffy, who is no longer with us, grounded me in the history of the legal issues facing American higher education, and I can tell you that I work with lawyers daily and can appreciate what they do and what they don't do. Dr. Alan Calvin, as you mentioned, immersed me in the management of higher education and introduced me to the books and writings of Peter Drucker. And I will never forget him introducing me to 2,000-year-old Roman law, de minimis non curat praetor, or plainly said, the magistrate does not bother with trifles. That simple concept, and I took Latin for many years before I even came to these halls, but that simple concept was a difficult lesson in how to prioritize what's most important to think about and do. What is a trifle and what is not? Because the time that all of us in this room who are in education can devote to educating others is so valuable and so limited, there will never be enough time. Dr. Susan Evans, my extraordinary dissertation chair and friend to this day, helped me believe in myself, enabling me to develop the inner confidence in my own ability that I needed to both understand and teach advanced statistics at the doctoral level. I knew I could easily explain the results of a discriminant function analysis, but I had long suffered a lack of confidence in my quantitative abilities, despite placing in the 700s in the SATs. That's probably a good reason why I'm adamant about helping young women and students who are underrepresented in American higher education gain confidence in their own abilities to excel in all fields of study, especially in math and science. And it's not only about developing the knowledge and skills, although that is critical, it's also about how to develop that confidence it takes to own the knowledge and make it a part of who you are and use it to share it with others and make life better for them. The lessons I learned from my USF professors prepared me to focus on what matters most, to drive change and inspires others. And in other words, each of these people prepared me to lead like they have prepared you to lead today. All of you are prepared now as leaders in your chosen fields of study, and even if you don't think you are ready. The accomplishments that we celebrate today are a source of pride and joy for you, for your families, for your friends, and your professors who are here with all of us this evening. Awaiting you tomorrow, though, will be a series of questions that each of you must answer, and those answers will chart your future. Will you stand up for what is right and use the opportunities you'll have before you, as I did, to their greatest advantage? Will you be able to address inequality that plagues most of our disadvantaged students and citizens in this country and around the globe? Can you make life better for children and families by becoming a classroom teacher or an administrator or a policymaker? Where can you make the biggest difference? What fights will you have and which ones will you walk away from? And what struggles must you never walk away from, no matter how difficult? One of the best ways I found to answer questions like this and to ensure that your professional life makes a difference to you and your families, your communities, and our nation is to face those questions head on and follow your passion. Believe me, you really can't fake sincerity. And when it comes to tackling the major professional challenges you will surely face, you'll need to face them head on with honesty and with insight. So my advice is to make sure that you continually believe in what you do, because that is always the first step in getting others to believe too. And that's where USF education comes together. USF matters tremendously. Even though some of you may have enrolled with the hope of finding out how to tackle our persistent achievement gap or how to be a role model for students who need us most, the research and studies that you did at USF most probably led you to discover a larger passion in your life, not just for leading change for the better in students in your classrooms or in the institutions you'll lead, but also that passion for social justice. You graduate today with the opportunity to be an education leader who will change the course of thousands of lives, a counselor who will prepare students to achieve their dreams so many lose hope at third grade. Sometimes it takes years to learn where your passions lie, but it's usually not a matter of looking for answers, but asking the deep, tough questions and setting an ambitious goal for yourself. The best way to challenge others to achieve great things is to show them the way by first doing it yourself. So I know you'll keep challenging yourself, and in that process you'll discover, if you haven't already, exactly where and how you can make the biggest positive difference in the lives of those you will shape. That discovery, in turn, will ignite your passion to do even more and even more and even more. President Obama found his passion for public service early in his life. More recently, when he took office in 2009, he saw an urgent need to expand the promise of education in America. So he set a goal, and that's why I said yes, to change the world so that by 2020, 25, we would have an aspirational goal to shape this country for the better, to lead the world in the proportion of undergraduates with baccalaureate degrees, to get us to a place where we will once again have the best educated, most competitive workforce in the world that we did just a generation or two ago. To find out how we could achieve this broad and ambitious goal, we had to ask the hard questions, big questions like these. How do we encourage youth and adults to develop a passion for and an engagement in learning throughout their lives, not just when they're in school, in high school or elementary school? What are the keys to ensuring that the top 100% of Americans succeed in school, in college, and in life? How can we help students and families pay for the education they need and want? How can we engage youth and adults to enter the profession of teaching, especially when many question whether it's a profession that will have the respect of the nation. We must get to these places that I'm talking about. We must have a teaching profession that has the respect of the nation. Every day, I marvel at the bold agenda we have set in order to meet our 2020 goal. And every day, we work hard to accomplish that. President Obama and Secretary Duncan have often said the nations that outcompete us have outeducated us. I also believe that we can dramatically boost student achievement if we build a new vision for the teaching profession around the principles of exemplary content knowledge, service, and respect. Within the decade, we'll need to have 1 million more teachers. We must help them become the best possible teachers in the world. That means we'll need an educating this country of more than 8 million students above our expected undergraduate enrollment. We want 1 million of those 8 million to become our teachers, and this is our 2020 goal that will really significantly boost the advancement for our society. High-quality teachers and excellent informed school principals and school leaders, school board members, are central to answering every question we will ask. That's why our agenda is focused on doing all we can to support the vitally important role that each of you will play as you march out of here. The education profession has never demanded more of teachers, of school leaders, of counselors, of staff, and it has never mattered more than it does today, because the need for student success has never been greater. We have just simply had too much failure in the last 50 years. At the Department of Education, we believe that the ability of the teaching profession to attract and retain great talent over the next 10 years will shape public education for the next 30 years and future generations. So we truly have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to change the course of history. Furthermore, as you may know, right now, far too many students are graduating from school. 27% of young people are dropping out. We lose a student every 22 seconds. We have 1.2 million teenagers a year that leave high school, and this is just not acceptable. Likewise, we've got too few high school graduates and adult learners entering college, and too few are finishing college, only 50% over 6 years. And I don't have to tell you that America's racial and ethnic achievement gap is pervasive. We've got to change the achievement gap that has harmed our culture and our economy in the past and is a threat to our future. As I said, we need to graduate the top 100%. Black and Latino students trail their white peers by 2 to 3 years in achievement and graduation rates across the board. And our skills gap is significant. Too many workers can't compete for high-demand jobs that we have available in health, in education, or in STEM fields to get those family-sustaining wages that students will need to raise a family and do well. We've got to regain our competitive edge, and we owe it to the next generation to restore our place as first in the world. So as you can see, we need each of you to stand up and lead. In this time of economic challenge and dramatic change, we don't have a moment to lose. We must advance the cause of inclusive and effective education reform at every level. President Obama knows it, I know it, and your professors and your deans have prepared you for it. Your education has equipped you with the courses, the internships, the externships, with business, with the nonprofits, all the work you've done in the region, in San Francisco and around the globe, whether it's been in a school or a hospital or a government agency in the city or elsewhere. And you're prepared now to face the dilemmas that we have, to find solutions to these problems, and to change the trajectory we were on. This is a time of tremendous opportunity. And your responsibility is to decide what's important and then take action. And my challenge to you is to make those tough decisions with an eye toward helping us meet the 2020 goal of opportunity for all and national renewal. I trust you to understand how lucky you are here in this gorgeous, fantastic university. Know that too many people don't have the opportunities that you have had, and too many aren't working hard and overcoming the challenges they face. They need your help. Our nation needs you to help them. As President Obama said, all of us have a responsibility as Americans to change this, to offer every single child in this country an education that will make him or her competitive in our knowledge economy. That is our obligation as a nation. Your USF education has prepared you for the challenges of the 21st century, and it has readied you to assume new responsibilities, to be a leader in your profession, to model the way forward for your students, to bring the profession of teaching to the respect it deserves nationally, and to give the knowledge and wisdom you have acquired here to those who will follow you, those you will touch each and every day. I have every confidence that you will meet the challenges ahead of you and give back the gifts you have been given by USF to others throughout your lives. Class of 2012, congratulations. Thank you for what you will do and for what you have done to bring you to this day. And God bless to each and every one of you. Thank you so much.